Hi, so before I start my monologue on extracurricular activity, I thought we'd say hi to an ex-teacher, Samantha. Hi, Sam.
Hello, Bill.
What years did you work at GMIS?
Oh, wow. 97, 98?
97, 98. Were you there on the riots?
Yes. I
Yeah,
was.
I'm sure that was a memory.
It was actually a little bit exciting because I think from what I remember, what was portrayed in the media was not necessarily what was happening in Jakarta.
True, and of course I took you out of that, right, that day?
Absolutely.
In the car. So we had a bit of a, interesting day.
Yep.
All right, very quickly, so what do you remember about extracurricular?
Lots of dancing.
Lots of dancing, yeah.
Children loved the dancing, musical instruments.
Musical instruments. What grades were you teaching? Because you were a class teacher, I think.
I taught ESL to teenagers.
Okay.
And then I think 17, 18
Yep.
teenagers in age, not number. And for the children, super primary. So
Like grade 2, 3, say?
oh gosh, age 6, 7.
Oh, wow.
5, 6, 7.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
very primary.
Cool. But
Lots of fun.
lots of fun. Yeah, of course. Of
Yeah,
course.
yeah. I think at that age anyway, it's important to give children lots of extracurricular activities rather than regimental.
I think there's a good mixture to be had. As I said, I think it became a little, in a way, boring later on because, of course, they'd be doing certain things for about 8 years, 9 years, rather than, face painting for grade 12. What for?
Yeah.
Anyway, those things.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'm sure everybody remembers you that were there. It was a small school in those days.
It was a small school, yeah.
Oh.
Maybe I might be the same but look a little bit older.
Oh, we all look a bit older. All right, well, cheers, Sam. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
GMIS was very heavy on extracurricular activities. In other words, activities we did within the school but not within the framework of the curriculum. For me, it was far too much and far too repetitive. You'd have dance talent time, you'd have musical talent time, you'd have face painting, you name it, we did it almost weekly. And unfortunately, what they didn't do was, okay, for the primary years they do this, the middle years no, it was the same damn thing almost every year. So it got rather monotonous in my opinion. Extracurriculum, of course, included plays, and we did very well with plays. The first play I did was a spoof on Treasure Island, which was a lot of fun. The first main play I did was Joseph and his Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. Fantastic. Anyway, there were some bloody good plays that GMIS put on. But again, it's taking a lot of work from the students. They're not putting the work in that they need to do on the basics. So this is where I have problems with extracurricular activities. Sport, of course, can be extracurricular activities, but that's normally done on the weekend. So it doesn't really go into, if you're playing football, for example, you'd be playing on a Saturday, or cricket on a Saturday. So that didn't really deal with that. We also had a certain day where we'd go to Chibaba Sports Day once a year, and that was kind of fun. So don't get me wrong, I'm not anti extracurricular, but it can get too much, and unfortunately at GMIS it was almost weekly. So of course the students are taken out of class because they've got to practice, because you've got to remember the standard has to be high. We're giving a magazine every 3 months called the GMIS Post. So we're promoting the school using these extracurricular activities. And of course, musically, wow, because we had Koreans, whether North Korean or South Korean, fantastic music players. But it isn't the school that's teaching them. So there's ways and means that schools can promote themselves. You know, same with art. A good artist isn't taught at school. They're either specifically good at art or they're taught. So a lot dance, again, some of these kids were semi-professional. The point being that, of course, it's nice to do things outside of the school curriculum, but going too far, almost on a weekly, and of course, at the end of the week, you'd have to sit down and watch the performance. They weren't not watched, they were watched, and we've got videos. So some of these performances were very good, don't get me wrong, but it was too much, and work suffered. And of course, in that way, GMIS students suffered. Anyway, that's the story of extracurricular activities.